Hey friends, thank you for joining in and we're just live. Let me just check if everything is working all right. Just live, just give me a sec. Uh, hey friends, yeah, I can hear myself and everything looks good. I see some of you reusing my terminology, which is folks. Good to see that. Anyway, thank you for joining in folks, and let's wait for a few minutes and let's give some time. I think the YouTube notification just went out. So let's wait for a little while for everyone to join in. And yeah, let's wait for it. And yeah, any questions that you want me to cover in this session, I can do that. Hey, I'm doing very good. Thank you, folks. I got some rest and I'm doing much better. Thank you for asking. Yes. So a couple of quick points here. I think some of you asked for some additional topics in DLD, especially on how to represent floating point numbers and things like that. So the key thing here is, so part of it is covered by Professor Mallikarjun Rao in DLD. The rest of it will be covered in CO, because in computer organization, if you look at Patterson-Hennessy book or any standard CO book, it's covered the IEEE format, all of that is covered in much more detail in CO. So we covered it partially in the DLD contents, but we'll cover it in much more detail in the CO content. Because look at this, they both are like one behind the other, right? Because if you look at it, some of the concepts in DLD get used in CO. So initially we thought we'll cover everything in CO, but since some students asked for it, we covered some of the basic concepts in DLD, we'll cover the rest in CO. So we'll ensure everything is covered. Anything that you think is missing or anything extra, do let us know. I think some of you have asked for more proofs. I think Professor Mallikarjun Rao is doing some of these proofs, and he has also added some of these proofs already, right? So thanks for the feedback. We are constantly here to improve the course in the best way that is best for our students. So, okay, let's wait for a couple. Okay, we can get started with the topic. So since some of you have asked this question to us many times, either during phone calls or in emails, people ask us this, even in live sessions a lot. People ask us, how is life after you graduate from one of these top institutes like IISc or IIT after your master's with a pretty decent placement? Again, there are multiple options after your MTech. You could either go pursue a PhD at a top-notch university in the world, or you will most likely get a pretty good placement. So I thought I'll walk you through some of those steps here, because that's also a good way to motivate yourself. Because see, we humans are motivated by results. Okay. So if you can imagine, see, look at what, if you can imagine yourself, what you will be 5 years from now, that's a great motivator to put in the extra effort now. Okay. Sounds good. So we'll also touch upon briefly on PSUs, very briefly, especially from a computer science perspective. Okay, so because right now we are focusing mostly on computer science gate itself, we'll focus more on the computer science perspective right now. So let's go. Let's go. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So somebody's asking, are you starting full stack development? Not right now, because we are fully focused on Gate right now and the interview prep course and the AI course. As and when we launch a full stack course, as and when we plan to launch a full stack course, we'll surely let you know. Okay, right now, our hands are full with these 3 superbly running courses. We're extremely happy the way these courses are running. And we want these courses to reach a logical stage before we start the next course. Okay. Oh, you want my T-shirt? Okay, we'll try to get them. Okay, we'll try it again. This is something that just the team at Applied Course and Applied AI Course got. We'll try to do that. Okay. So again, somebody's asking a very good question. Is the DLT content in the video sufficient for GATE? So let me tell you this very clearly. Professor Mallikarjun Rao has been teaching for GATE, computer science, for the last 15 plus years at some of the best institutes like ACE Academy. Okay, so we are very fortunate to have such an experienced faculty on board. And actually, a lot of our teammates, like you might have talked to Naveen, Subbarao, all these people, right? Or Murali, or some of these people, they all were taught by Professor Mallikarjun Rao. Okay, so sir has tons of experience. So the content he covers is absolutely perfect for GATE. Okay, if there is anything missing, if you think, so we will try to, again, there might be some concepts that he covers in DLD, some concepts that he covers in CO, because every faculty member, every teacher has their strategy. But between DLD and CO, everything would get covered. I was telling you a while ago, right? How to store floating point numbers, right? How do you store floating point numbers in hardware? Some teachers cover that completely in DLD. Some cover it completely in CO. So we actually initially planned to cover that in CO, but based on students' request, sir made some videos to cover part of it in DLD, part of it in CO. Okay, so that's what, again, everything would be covered. We will ensure that you will be able to solve all the last 20, 30 years of GATE questions, and actually questions that are harder than GATE, just using the video content for DLD. So don't worry about it. And since he's such an experienced faculty member, he knows what will be asked in GATE because he's been seeing it for the last 2 decades. Okay. Okay. Okay, so somebody is asking about time limit in test. We will start doing it slowly. Okay, the best way for you, because by enforcing a time limit at the very beginning in some of our practice tests, it might discourage students. So if you want to enforce a time limit yourself, start a timer on your smartphone and take the test with timer. We'll do more time-based tests a little later, because right now we are more focused on practice itself. Again, back to the topic. Sorry, folks, I digress. Back to the core discussion here. So let me focus a little on, so my own experiences. It's exactly been 10 years that I graduated from IISc. This year is the 10th year. All of our friends are meeting up soon, because it's exactly been 10 years that we graduated and we entered into the workforce. So we have, again, my friends, my seniors, my juniors at IISc, my friends at IITs, people that I hired later on over the years from IITs and IISc. I've seen career paths of hundreds of people like them, right? Not just my batchmates, my seniors, my juniors, people who are like 6-7 years junior to me, who joined top-notch companies like Amazon, and how their careers have progressed. So I'll give you a couple of insights on that. Most importantly, let's do a simple calculation, right? Let's do a very simple, again, let's base all of our arguments on numbers and logic, not emotions. Okay, so there are 2 things that most likely will motivate you. One is money. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, money is something that we all want. We all want to make good amount of money for comfortable life. But remember that money is not everything. But a good amount of money, so money is like a necessary thing, not a sufficient thing for happiness. Okay, so one thing that motivates a lot of students and a lot of people is they want to have well-paying jobs, number one, and that's completely justifiable. I also wanted it, to be honest with you. Number one. Number two is people want to do good quality work. People want to engineer the next big thing. That's also a huge motivation. Once you start making 1 crore plus or so, money is no more a big motivator. You want to do things that have huge impact. Like, for example, you might want to build a huge distributed system service for Amazon, or you might want to build a completely new storage system for Google, right? Or you might want to build the next big thing, or you want to disrupt a big area. So the 2 things that motivate people. Number one is money. Number 2 is the quality of work and the impact of their work, right? So if either of these 2 things are motivating you, or both of them, see, for many people, both of them motivate. There is some motivation in terms of making money, some motivation in terms of building the next big thing, either by being a researcher or by working in the industry. Okay, if any of these 2 or both of them motivate you, then GATE is a terrific option. And especially GATE is a terrific option, especially if the undergraduate college or university that you're studying at does not clearly give you a path into these top-notch companies, institutions, or research labs. Okay, so if there is no clear path, for example, let's say you're doing your BTech at IIT Bombay or one of the top institutes in India, or even at IISc nowadays, right? So then if you already get into a top-notch institute, either a research institute or a research lab or a top-notch company directly after your BTech, perfect. But if you're coming from a smaller university or college like me, I studied in a college where I was the first batch in my college. Of course, I messed up my IIT JEE, I messed up my MSET, and all I got was a local college, and I was the first batch. Imagine the circumstances. But then through 4 years of hard work and struggle, I made it into Indian Institute of Science. And that opened up tons of doors for me. Okay, that opened up tons of doors, both in terms of intellectual satisfaction and in terms of compensation also. Okay, so when you go to any of this top, I'll give you a lot of perspective from IISc standpoint, because I've been a student there, I've experienced it. I've also interacted with lots of IISc folks. because I worked mostly in research teams where a lot of hiring actually happens from research institutes like IISc. Okay, so I'll try to share my perspective more from IISc, but this will also hold for most IITs and IIITs and some NITs also. Okay, the top NITs, top IIITs, top IITs, the same logic will hold. Okay, first and foremost, I got lucky, I got into IISc. The most important thing, right? So let me just focus briefly on the 2 years at IISc and what I learned, what I did not learn. First and foremost, when I went into IISc, I was very lucky that I had a focus. Okay, I told myself that I didn't know the subject called machine learning then. It was called artificial intelligence. This is something that I studied in my BTech final year or third year, I think final year, 4-1. So I was very happy. I said, okay, I want to excel in one sub area of computer science. I loved hardware. I loved the microprocessor. I mean, I loved a lot of, I built a lot of hacks during my BTech days with breadboards, with simple circuits. I really enjoyed microprocessors, microcontrollers, DLD, CO, all of these subjects. But my first love has always been math. Okay, I think even in GATE exam, I think I almost solved, 2007 was an easy paper. I think I almost solved all of the math questions, all of the algo questions. I think I messed up more of the systems topics. So with that focus, I said, before I entered IISc, I said, what should I study? And I knew IISc was the best institute for AI because I didn't know a subject called machine learning. So for the 2 years at IISc, with help from people like Professor Chiranjeev, who is still a great mentor, phenomenal professor at IISc, great friend, a great advisor to us, he helped me. Of course, when I was going through IISc, it was a nightmare. Because the very first semester, I took some of the hardest subjects that the computer science department offers. And it messed up my CGPA like crazy. But I went through that I went through that toughness. It toughened me up so that any course you throw at me, I can get a decent grade afterwards, right? So one thing you have to note is when you get into IIScs or IITs, you have a lot of scope to learn. You have some of the best researchers, some of the most knowledgeable people at IITs and IISc in terms of professors or PhD students or peers. I got to learn a lot of things from my peers, from my classmates. Most of them are great friends. We still joke around, discuss around a lot of things about the past days, right? So in the 2 years at IISc, I learned a lot of machine learning and I forgot a lot of things also. I forgot almost I want to become an expert in AI. So I literally lost all of my touch with system subjects because I never studied them, to be honest with you. For placements, so our placements were in second year, first semester. As soon as the second year, first semester started, our placement started. IISc has this culture that we typically tend to invite research companies before development jobs, even if their salary is slightly low. Okay, because IISc being a research institute, this thing gets drilled in your head that research is super important. I want to be a researcher and things like that. So for placements, we sat for about 2 months. I think in the summer vacation, we all would sit in a lecture hall, prepare. So somebody would pick up a topic like, let's say, graph algorithms or graph data structures. He would give us because he would prepare and tell us multiple things about graph algorithms, how to solve these problems, etc. So each of us split a topic. We were a team of about 30 folks because 10, 12 years back, IISc intake was also low. So for 2 months, we prepared like data structures, algorithms inside out. And some of us who were like very focused on getting machine learning jobs, we also prepared for machine learning. So we were very fortunate because 2009 was the recession year, if you recall. It was actually the recession year. But it also opened up a small new interesting twist. It was a first year or probably the first or second year when most of these research companies were hiring master students. Again, at IISc, the first placement traditionally has been Bell Labs, which I don't think exists anymore. But Bell Labs, you all know AT&T Bell Labs, right? Bell Labs is the legendary place where some of the greatest inventions, discoveries were made, right? So typically AT&T Bell Labs, or I think the Bell Labs comes on day zero placement. Whatever package they offer, because they offer all research positions. I messed up the Bell Labs interview, Bell Labs exam, sorry. I really felt so sad and so, because they wanted to hire machine learning folks. I messed up. This was day zero placement. I mean, we don't have the concept of day zero, the first day placement. I messed it up. I was so angry at myself for messing up the written exam. Next day was Yahoo Labs. I said, this I'm going to crack. I got very lucky, cracked Yahoo Labs, went to Yahoo Labs. Again, in in the big scheme of things, again, don't look at your career as just the placement after your MTech. Okay, you have to think of your career as what happens from then on also. Don't think that all this preparation that you're doing will end with GATE or will end right after your MTech. You have to be a lifelong learner. This is something that I've told all the people that I've mentored, everyone that I've worked with. The day you stop learning constantly, you have to constantly spend a few hours every week learning new and advanced things. The day you stop learning, within a couple of years, you'll start becoming a dinosaur. Within 5 years, nobody cares, to be honest with you. So you have to be constantly on the learning path. Okay, and it's very, very enjoyable. Even today with super hectic schedule, I still read a few research papers, the top-notch research papers in machine learning, even because I enjoy it. It's like reading a novel for me. Okay, because I personally enjoy it. I like the intuition that's given. Of course, I've become very good at it because I've been reading research papers since the IISc days. Okay, so once you get into careers, okay, again, this is very important. Your learning does not stop at an IIT or after an IIT. Okay, very importantly, some people ask us, why should I take GATE? Okay, what is it? So can you justify why I should take GATE? So let me give you a logical justification for taking GATE. Very simple, logical, mathematical justification. Imagine if you're coming from a tier 2 or tier 3 engineering college in India, maybe tier 4 like mine, because I was the first batch. Tier 2, 3, non-IIT, non-top-notch NITs, non-BITS, some of these big top institutions, which have terrific placements, terrific opportunities. So if you come from one of these institutes, most likely you'll get a placement under 5 lakhs. Most likely, if you get into a services company or even slightly product-based companies, your gross salary, I'm not talking about CTC, I'm talking about gross. Your gross salary will most likely be less than 5 lakhs. Just ask yourself, in 2 years, how much will you make? 10 lakhs? Of course, you'll have your expenses, all of that stuff. Let's keep the expenses outside. 10 lakhs is what you make in 2 years. After 2 years, what happens? You have two options. You either get promoted to the next level where your salary might become 6, best case 7 lakhs. Again, I'm talking about best cases. 5 lakhs is also best case. Services companies, unfortunately, even today pay 3.5, 4 lakhs, except for a very select few where they pay 5 to 6 lakhs. Okay, your salary does not increase much. Again, I'm talking only numbers enough. I'll also talk about impact in a little while. Okay, so 2 years, you made about 10 lakhs. After that, your salary will be 6 to 7 lakhs. Okay. So some people may say, okay, I can also go on site. Many of these companies send candidates on site. So I'll make like terrific salary. I'll make some $80,000 or $70,000. Let's take that option also. Now, if you don't go through that option, so that's one career cycle, right? If you don't take GATE, if you don't get into an IIT, that's one career path. Nothing wrong with it. But I want to prove that going through GATE, just the numbers perspective, you will be able to do much better. You'll be able to earn much better. So for 2 years that you're at IISc or IIT, you'll just make your stipend, okay, which the government of India gives you, and that, or MHRD gives you, and you just can comfortably survive. Of course, you can't spend on a flight ticket or anything, but comfortable. To live at IISc or IITs, the stipend that you get is pretty decent. Okay, so you spend 2 years there. Let's say your salary is equal to 0, because whatever you are earning there will go off for basic expenses. But after that, even if you're half decent, okay, even if you're an average candidate or slightly below average also, you can comfortably make, I'm talking, see, for services companies, I took the best case, 5 to 6 lakhs. Here, let's take the worst case. Okay, this is like a mathematical argument, right? You'll comfortably make 13 lakhs gross, not CTC. CTC numbers are all jugaad. Okay, I've seen companies which say CTC has 30 lakhs, the gross comes to be 12 lakhs. Okay, let's forget the jugaad part of it. The actual money that you make in the first year, okay, it will typically be at least 12 to 13 lakhs. Okay, at least. And even if you're half, this is for the lower bracket of people. If you're in the third quartile, or like if you're in the bottom part of the class, if you're even in the average part, you can comfortably make 15 lakh gross, which means now this guy has made 10 lakhs and then his salary is 6 lakhs. All that money he made, you'll make it in your very first year. Okay, so from a money perspective, your career is starting off at a much better place. And within 2 years, let me give you examples from Amazon. So Amazon fresher software engineers, I think, join at about 15, 16 lakhs gross. I'm not talking CTC, I'm talking gross. Again, I don't know these numbers because it's been a couple of years that I've moved out of Amazon, but these are the rough numbers. Okay. Next, once you finish once you finish about 2 years at Amazon, you'll become from SDE1 to SDE2. Let's assume you became an SD, software development engineer. Okay, you start somewhere around 16 lakhs. Within 2 years, you can go to 30 lakhs, 30 to 33 lakhs comfortably. So the moment you become SDE2, the quality of work will improve. As in SDE1, you're still a college fresher. Okay, you know some basic things. You learn basics about design. You learn actually how to design real world systems and modules. You learn actual real world engineering. Okay, which is slightly different from what you learn in college, but lessons that you learn in college are certainly useful in the real world. It's not that they're completely useless. Some of these things you carry on with them throughout your life. Okay, like data structures, algorithms, even concepts in computer organization, compiler design, they stay with you for a lifetime. Okay, even discrete maths. Okay, so for example, where was I? Okay, so within 2 years, your salary has, I mean, assuming that you're an average performer. I'm not talking about super performers who become SDE2s in like 1 year, 1.5 years, right? Average case is 2 years, worst case 2.5 years. You're already at 32 lakhs. This is gross. This is not CTC. This is not some jugaad number. This is the money that you'll make in 1 year. This is the pre-tax money that you'll make either in terms of stock or cash within the 12 months period. Okay, I'm not talking some 4-year bonus, sabhi mila ke. I'm not talking about that jugaad business. Okay, so imagine your friend who got stayed back at TCS or any of the services companies is still, see, after 2 years, where is he? He's at 6-7 lakhs. After 2 more years, where will he be? Best case 8-9 lakhs. You're already at 30 lakhs, 4 times his salary. Okay, so from a pure, and the second argument is he could go on site. What stops you from going on site? I know a lot of people at Amazon, they spend a couple of years as SDE1, they get promoted to SDE2. Many of them want to move to US. And companies like Amazon, Google, if you're a good engineer, it's extremely easy to move to US internally. And your salary is going to be way higher than what these services companies pay. Services companies, I think with 2 or 4 years experience also, you'll get like what? You'll get some $80,000 best case, maximum $100,000. If you go to Silicon Valley or Seattle or any of the top places, your salary can be way higher than that. And your growth also will be higher. Okay, there are two things. Your initial salary and the growth in salary. There are two aspects to it. Okay, so it's very, very easy for people in product-based companies to make way higher salaries, at least 4 times higher salaries in India, and probably 2 times or maybe 2.5 times more salary in the US. Again, if you're a good engineer, if you're constantly learning, if you're constantly upgrading, you can grow at like full speed. I've had people within, so 2 years you become SDE2, from SDE2 you become SDE3. SDE3, I think in India today, Amazon pays a gross, again, this is my estimate. I don't know the exact numbers, trust me. This is my estimate because it's been 2 years that I've been out of Amazon. Top companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they comfortably pay 65-70 lakhs per annum for SDE3, Software Development Engineer 3. And I know people who have become Software Development Engineer 3 in 6 years. So 2 years from the starting to become Software Engineer SDE2, 4 more years to become SDE3. Of course, you have to work hard. If you don't work hard, you'll retire there. Okay, I'm assuming that you're constantly working hard. You're constantly putting in the effort. Okay, you're not giving up on the effort and learning part. Okay, you're already at 65-70 lakhs. And that's one story. The other story is, imagine if you, instead of becoming a software development engineer, you become a machine learning scientist, which you can become if you go to IISc or IIT. Okay, right now, a lot of IITs and IISc candidates are now, especially master's students, are joining as data scientists in Microsoft and other companies. Earlier, it was not so many, but now many people are joining. Then a machine learning engineer can make anywhere from 20 to 50% more than a software development engineer based on how good you are. So if you look at just numbers, right? You can make much more money than not taking the gate. So the amount of hard work you put now will pay you not just at your entrance when you get into an IIT or when you just graduate at the placement time, it will keep paying you throughout your life. Okay, and there is another case also. Imagine at IIT or IISc, your placement didn't go well. Happens. Okay, because it's so competitive, you might mess up. This happens to every one of us, trust me. I have a great friend of mine who messed up his interviews. He got into a not so good product-based company. Let me not name it. Okay, So for an IITian or IISc guy, it's not the best choice. He said, "ठीक है यार, I'll join." Again, he's a great friend of mine, and he's also a family member now. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so he didn't get the best placement straight out of IISc for whatever reason. IIScs and IITs are super competitive places, but within 1.5 years, he said, "I'm not going to sit here and sit ducks." He started preparing. He started like becoming really good. He started becoming good at design patterns. He also did his master's in machine learning. So he said, "I'm going to become good at machine learning." I started mentoring him personally. Within 1.5 years, he's already at Facebook headquarters in in Palo Alto. Okay, within 2 years, he's already at, like, he's, I think, to the best of my knowledge, amongst all of his peers, he's now the best placed. Okay, your placement doesn't stop right after IIT, because you may get unlucky. Okay, and you may not get the best placement. But this friend of mine, okay, I don't want to name him. So this friend of mine, he's like 3 years junior to me, great friend, now family and all of that stuff. So I started mentoring him after, and I also started giving him general advice. So he went into a not so top product based company, but within 1.5 years, he's already at the best place. Literally at that time, Facebook headquarters, software engineer. His title was software engineer, working also in machine learning. That was like a dream job. Okay, so even if you don't get the best placement straight out of college, you have a lot of opportunity to grow. Okay, because you have the skill to start with. Kabil Bano, I think that's there in 3 Idiots, right? Kabil Bano, you'll win. I don't remember the exact dialogue, but it says something like this, right? You become good at a subject, success will come to you, right? Something like that, right? So he was actually pretty good in his subject. He just got unlucky in placements, but career took off. He's now a senior engineer at Facebook, right? In Facebook headquarters. Okay, so things got, again, luck gives you some favors sometimes. Sometimes you have to snatch it. You have to work hard and get them. Okay. Having said that, right? Again, all the lessons that you're learning now. For example, I give a lot of examples, right, in the course videos also. I told you how a bipartite graph. Okay, this is something that we learned in graph theory. Okay, I thought this was theory that I'm learning, all the properties of bipartite graphs, all of those concepts. But when I joined Amazon, while we were working on a real world problem of mining some information on customers and websites they're visiting and things like that, I literally used those same properties to solve a very, very interesting problem. All the graph algorithms, right, like mincut, etc. Right? Again, mincut is not an algorithm in GATE syllabus, but mincut is a very important algorithm in graph theory. Right? So those concepts, again, played an extremely important role. So the subjects that you learn will not go away. They'll stay with you for a lifetime, especially if you're at the cutting edge, right? So having said that, the other important aspect here is quality of work. If you join any of the services companies or not so good product-based companies, 99%, I'm not saying everybody gets bad work, but 99% of the work may not be intellectually that satisfying as compared to working at a product-based company at the very bleeding edge. Again, not everybody in a product-based company also gets an opportunity, but if you're good, you'll get opportunities. I got extremely lucky. Okay, I became one of the earliest machine learning scientists in the whole advertising division of Amazon. Okay, the advertising division was small. I took a risk. I went into the team. I was one of the earliest machine learning scientists there. And I got like a front view seat of everything that Amazon was building in the advertising space. This was a terrific view. I got lucky, but I worked like crazy hours. Okay, so if you work hard, if you keep learning, if you constantly push the boundaries, I got to do terrific work at Amazon. Okay, I learned how to build products. I learned how to communicate results. Okay, I got to do state-of-the-art deep learning algorithms on like state-of-the-art hardware. Okay, I learned a lot of systems that I did not learn at IISc, like distributed systems and operating systems. I learned a lot of it in the field while building real-world systems with some of the best engineers that are available at Amazon, right? So if you want to do very fulfilling work, and I'm extremely happy of the work that I've done. Okay, I keep bragging sometimes that you see some ad somewhere from Amazon. I say, oh, my team built the machine learning engine for that, or my team built the image recognition engine for that, or my team is recommending this, and I know how the whole architecture works in the background, and that makes I mean, to the best, I don't know what is the revenue that Amazon's advertising makes now, but publicly available numbers are in billions of dollars, right? So that's a humongous amount of business impact that my team, that I've been part of. I'm not saying I created it, but I've been part of that revolution within Amazon. That's super satisfying work. Okay, hugely impactful work. So you get to build state-of-the-art, world-class systems if you work at top-notch companies and you grab the opportunities that are there, right? Of course, nothing is given to you on a plate. You have to constantly work, constantly push the boundaries, okay, and constantly upgrade yourself. Okay, I was not at all good at systems when I graduated from IISc. I can't say I'm not good at systems, so I'll not work on this distributed systems project. No, I said, "Okay, yaar, I know the basics of computer science. What is there? I know computer organization. I know computer networks. I know basics of OS from my BTech days. What is there? I'll read up and learn. It's not rocket science. I know data structures, algorithms at the end of the day. Those are the foundational things. I know what a B tree is. I know what a B plus tree is. I know how network routing algorithms work, because at the end of the day, they're graph theory algorithms. So my foundations are strong, so I can pick up any damn thing under the sun. And I actually ended up picking up state-of-the-art distributed systems and built machine learning products and solutions on top of it, right? So as compared to taking gate versus not taking gate, if you take gate, your chances of making more money are exponentially high. You'll make far more money, and you will get to work on much more satisfying work, and the chances of that are much higher than services companies. I'm not saying that in a services company you will not get a chance to work on good stuff, but your chances are very few. You can talk to your friends, family, colleagues, anybody. Your chances are much fewer in a services company than in a product-based company. That doesn't mean that in a product-based company everything will be given to you on a plate. You have to still work hard. So I keep telling this to all of my mentees, people whom I mentor, right, at Amazon or right now at Applied AI course or other places. The day you stop learning, within just a couple of years, you're done. Okay, you're simply because the world, especially in computer science, is moving so fast. If I stop reading machine learning research papers, cutting edge papers for a couple of years, that's it. I don't know what's happening in the bleeding edge, right? And my peers, again, people who are reporting to me, would become better than me, right? So it's a process of constant upgrading, constant learning, relearning, unlearning, everything. Okay, like distributed systems, right? So the quality of work that you get to do if you go through IIT or IISc is great. And even if you don't get the best placement on day zero, it's okay. That's not the end of your whole career. I told you this example, right? Somebody who didn't get a very top-notch company, but within 1.5 years is already at Facebook headquarters. That I've seen many cases like that. Again, let me also warn you. I've seen cases of single-digit and low double-digit gate rankers who didn't constantly upgrade themselves. I've seen people like that also. People who did not continuously learn, they've become dinosaurs. To be honest with you, okay, they've not reached either the salary numbers or the quality of work that some of my peers are getting to do. Okay, so just wanted to make that clear. I think this is something that we have been told in our 11th class when we were younger, right? Our parents said, "ठीक है यार, you study your 10th class well, life settle हो जाएगा." Okay, your life is settled. For those of you who don't understand Hindi, again, Hindi is not my mother tongue, so please excuse anything I say incorrectly. Okay, so then they say, okay, prepare for IIT, your life is settled. Okay, then they say IIT mein placement hai, just crack the placement, life settled. That's all BS. Okay, to be honest with you, the day you stop working hard, your career is over. Whether that is your 5th standard, 10th standard, 12th standard, 10 years after you pass out of IISc or IIT, or 20 years after that. Okay, the day you stop working hard, the way you stop pushing the boundaries, that's it. Your career is over within a couple of years, or you'll stagnate there. I'm not saying you'll die. Your career will take a nosedive, but your career will stagnate there. Okay, just wanted to make that clear. So somebody's asking questions about IISc versus IITs. So there is a trade-off there. Again, I had an option to choose any IIT that I want because my AR rank was 2. I could go to any IISc or any IISc is obviously trivial. I could go to any IIT or even TAFR for that matter, because at that point of time, I wanted to pursue PhD. Okay. So I also was considering Tata Institute for Fundamental Research, which is one of the best research institutes in India, but I was not sure. Okay. So what I did was, see, if you think, I'll tell you pros and cons of IISc. IISc is very, very research institute. Okay, so you'll get, if you think maybe I want to do research in the future, I want to go to MIT to do a PhD, or I want to go to Stanford to do a PhD. Again, I have a lot of friends, seniors, juniors who have gone to these top institutes in the world to pursue their PhDs. At IISc, it's much more easy than other IITs. I'm not saying it's not possible from other IITs, but IISc, since the focus itself is research, okay, and you don't have to compete with undergraduate students. See, IISc batch itself is small because it's mostly masters and PhD students. The courses that are offered, right, are also more research oriented. The faculty is also more research oriented than IITs. Again, I'm not saying this about every faculty. I'm talking in general, on average, right? So if you want to work in research areas, okay, or if you think probably after graduating, I also want to do a PhD at one of the top institutes, then IISc may be a slightly better choice than IITs. But IITs have another major advantage, especially IIT Bombay, all the old IITs. So in terms of placements, the number of companies that come there is much larger than IISc. IISc, everybody gets placed, okay? But you have fewer companies to choose from. For example, consulting companies, right? Like McKinsey, BCG, right? All these companies, they don't come, to the best of my knowledge. Again, my data is slightly old, but to the best of my knowledge, they don't go to IISc, but they do go to IITs. Again, when McKinsey or BCG or any of the consulting companies or large banks go to IITs, the competition is hyper severe. Okay, it's crazy, crazy, crazy competition. Again, at placements at IITs, you have to, in MTech, it doesn't matter whether you're MTech or BTech, because all of you are in the same pool, all of you are competing for the same roles. While you have more roles there, while you have more companies and more positions, there is a hell lot of competition. At IISc, the competition is lesser, and probably that's why at IISc we prepared lesser, right? Because my batch were like what, 26, 27 folks, and we knew like some 30, 40 companies coming for placements. We were like, "Okay, yaar, in some company or other, we'll get placed." Even this was height of recession, 2009, in the height of recession. We were like, "We'll get placed." There is nothing, because the number of positions there were massive. So don't worry about getting placed, but the opportunity to get placed in consulting companies is higher if you can compete with everybody else at IIT. IITs have really smart students, to be honest with you. Okay, the competition levels, that doesn't mean IISc doesn't have smart kids. There are, but the competition level at IITs is higher than competition level at IISc, to be honest with you. Okay, we have to be very clear there, especially at places like IITB or IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, Kanpur, Kharagpur, etc. The competition levels are next level, because there's so many undergraduate students. All of you are competing for the same McKinsey, same Boston Consulting Group, or same Citibank type of roles, right? So the opportunities in terms of the number of companies is higher at IITs, but so is the competition. At IISc, the competition is certainly lesser, but you may get more research profiles. Okay, and typically research teams like machine learning, like my team was a research team at Amazon and Yahoo Labs, etc. Our first preference was always, "Okay, let's go to IISc," because they tend to produce a lot of good research candidates. Okay, so if you are more interested in research, IISc is a better place on average. And if you're more interested in consulting companies, IITs are a better option. Okay, but remember, in the long sequence, today nobody asks me if I apply to any company for a job, right? Nobody asks me whether I went to IIT Bombay or IISc. People will say, "What did you do? What have you done in the last few years? What have you done?" Okay, so in the long run of career, again, don't look at your career in a myopic way. Don't look at it like in a very narrow sense. Look at it in the longer term. Because see, by the time you graduate from IIT or IISc, you're what, 24, 23, 24, typically. You have to work for like 40 more years. Most of us anyway won't retire by 60, to be honest with you. Okay, or we may choose to retire. That's our option. Like, I don't intend to retire anytime. I don't have a deadline myself in my head. I love working. I enjoy this. As long as my body and mind can take it, I'll do it. Right? So for 40 years, so you have to think of your career as something that you do for 35 to 40 years, not as what you get in. Right? So when you look at the long arc of career, right, your institute, whether it's IIT Bombay or IISc, may not matter much. Somebody is talking about PSUs. So the reason I have not touched upon PSUs a lot is because of this. Directly after GATE, the number of PSU positions for computer science students are very few, to be honest with you. There are very few positions. And if you go to any top institute like IITs or IISc, at least in our days, I think that is also true now. You can't call them PSUs, but research institutes like DRDO, ISRO, they do come for campus placements at IISs and IITs. Okay, they do come. So I know a few candidates who said, I don't want this corporate job. I want to go work at ISRO. Okay, because I believe that this is the right choice for me. And they're successful at ISRO also. Okay, I have some seniors and juniors and colleagues and classmates who said, I don't want to even sit for all the other placements. They're like, I don't want to sit for Google, Amazon, Facebook. I don't want to sit any of these. I directly want to sit only for DRDO, ISRO. And they've done very well even at DRDO, ISRO. Okay, that's a career choice. Okay, that's a career choice. Okay, PSU positions for CSC are very, very few, unfortunately. Okay, for computer science, for mechanical, electrical, electronics, instrumentation, civil, there are more positions, obviously. That's why we're not focusing too much on PSUs, right? And if you look at it from a job perspective, imagine you're a mechanical engineering student, right? The number of private sector jobs for mechanical engineering, which are well paying, are very few as compared to PSUs. Like you have ONGCs and IOCLs of the world, right? Which hire mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, etc. While the private sector, there are very few companies like Boeing, right? Like there are very few companies in India. I'm only talking about India, right? Like General Electric. There are very few private sector jobs which are high paying, which are almost as well paying as PSUs. That's why for mechanical engineering students or other engineering students, there are very few well-paying core jobs. Since there are few, they have a preference towards PSUs. In the case of computer science, the very few PSU positions, while the private sector jobs are humongous. Okay, there are so many jobs in the private sector. Again, to be honest with you, every company that I know of, every team, every manager who is my colleague or friend that I know of, they're all struggling to hire good engineers, good machine learning scientists. Everybody is struggling to do this. Okay, which means there is so much of demand for good engineers. Again, one of my colleagues, a great friend of mine from Amazon, was visiting me a few days back. He said, Varman, if you have some good machine learning engineer or a good software development engineer, slightly maybe a few years experience, can you just refer me? Because I'm desperately looking for a good candidate. And this is a person who manages a 100-member team at Amazon and in Bangalore, right? And he's struggling to hire good people. So there is a lot of demand for good candidates in the private sector, and private sector is like crazy high paying as compared to public sector for computer science jobs. Again, as I told you, there are people who prefer public sector companies or institutions like ISRO, DRDO. That's a career choice. Okay, they don't care about pay, they care about their long-term impact towards nation building and things like that. That's perfectly valid. Okay, so so this is a couple of things that I wanted to bring about. So whether you think about it in terms of long-term career satisfaction, or whether you think about it in terms of getting to do great quality work, or whether you think about it in terms of salary, cracking GATE, getting into one of the top institutes, it can be an IISc, it can be an IIT, it can be the top IIITs, it can be the top NITs. Your career will take off much better. It's like a rocket, right? So these institutions, because of their placements, because of the quality of candidates they have, your career will take off. And from there on, if you keep working hard, that's like more fuel, it will take off faster. Okay, so it's simple logic. Again, there are exceptions everywhere. Okay, I'm only talking about average cases, or as I call them, the median cases, or the middle 50 percentile people. Okay, there are exceptions. I know candidates who went to no-name universities, no-name colleges, who become extremely successful. Okay, I know people at Amazon itself. I mean, these are senior software engineers and principal engineers who went to no-name colleges, but they worked so hard after. I mean, they worked hard to even get into Amazon in the first place. But they now are much way ahead of people who are from IITs from the same batch. So in the long equation, if you continuously work hard, you'll grow way faster than anybody else. Okay, that's a great lesson of life in general. My simple advice. There are exceptions always, but I'm talking about the averages here. What is the question here? So which is the best in terms of placements, IIT Bombay or IISc? To be honest with you, if you want core computer science jobs, it really doesn't matter. Okay, you can get into all the top-notch companies through IISc, or you can get it through IIT. Of course, at IIT, for the same role at Amazon, let me give you an analogy, right? For example, if you think of Google and Amazon as good companies, okay? So for the same role at Google, at IIT, so this is IITB, this is IISc, okay? At IISc, there is lesser competition because there are fewer students. And when the whole team comes, they want to hire somebody. They don't want to typically go empty-handed unless nobody meets the bar. Okay. At IIT Bombay, there is humongous amount of competition for the same role. Okay. But you can get into the same companies. But at IIT Bombay, you also have these financial institutions and consulting companies, which typically don't come to IISc. Okay. But IISc, you get more research positions. Typically, on an average, I'm talking about. Okay, so in terms of placements, don't worry about it, whether you go to IISc, IIT Bombay, or any of the major IITs. Again, your final result may not change much, whether you go to an IIT B or IIT Kanpur or IIT Delhi or IIT Madras, or even some of the newer IITs are pretty good. I was recently talking to somebody at IIT Hyderabad, which is a new IIT, but they're doing terrific. They're doing very well nowadays, right? Even I've seen some folks at BITS who are doing very good. BITS placements are also good. So placement is only one event in your whole career, right? These institutes help you get that good placement, but after that, it's in your hands. So somebody asks, isn't it required to practice programming along with GATE to become a good software engineer? Unfortunately, again, this is something I conditionally say unfortunately, GATE doesn't test your programming skills as much as a product-based company. I wish that changes with GATE. Again, that's because GATE is conducted mostly by IITs and IISc. Okay, this whole GATE council, as it is called. And who is setting the paper? Mostly professors. They don't care about your programming ability in terms of cracking product-based companies. Okay, so the way GATE is currently organized or GATE is currently conducted, it focuses too much on theory. It doesn't focus too much even on the applied aspects of computer science, unfortunately, number one. Number two, it also doesn't focus too much on hard problem solving in data structures algorithms. While product-based companies focus a lot on just data structures, algorithms, and programming, solving hard dynamic programming type problems. Okay, so there is this dichotomy, or there is this two-way street here. So if you crack GATE during your 2 years, you will have ample practice, ample time, ample ambience and environment to prepare for product-based companies. So don't worry about it. Okay, that's my suggestion. So somebody says, I'm not good at coding. Does it affect on GATE? I mean, does the programming knowledge have indirect relation to GATE? Not so much. Of course, you have to be able to at least answer GATE programming questions, and you have to be able to at least answer the basic GATE questions in C programming, right? But the questions that will be asked in top product-based companies are way harder than questions that are asked in GATE as far as programming data structures algorithms are concerned, right? Even if you look at the hardest questions, right, in data structures algorithms in GATE, they're certainly not at the same level as middle to hard level questions in interviews at top product-based companies. So there is this distinction. GATE, on the other hand, has a lot of syllabus. GATE tries to cover a lot of subjects, because you might end up becoming good at compiler design or operating systems or discrete mathematics. During your masters, you might choose to become good at any of them. So GATE has a different objective as compared to product-based companies, right? Product-based companies are like, if this kid or if this candidate knows data structures, algorithms, programming, basics of SQL, let's take him. If he has decent aptitude, let's get him in. Okay, because we'll train him and he'll grow. GATE, on the other hand, says, I don't care about all of this. I want to know if you have basic knowledge in all the 13, 14 subjects, including aptitude, English, etc. So GATE thinks slightly differently from product-based companies because their objectives are different. Okay. Okay. A good question. Somebody says, once you get into IIT or IISc, what will be the criteria to interview at top-notch companies? It will typically be CGPA. Most companies will have CGPA cutoff, and then they'll have a exam. Okay. Again, depends on the company. Some companies may have questions about programming, data structures, algorithms, operating systems, etc. Some companies may have aptitude. Some companies may have, some companies also have, like for machine learning roles, they have all the basic foundational mathematics and machine learning. So it depends on the company, but you need to have a decent CGPA. Again, CGPA differs from institute to institute. And because, like, for example, at IISc, the max CGPA is 8. At IITs, I think at most IITs, it is 10. Again, the cutoffs depend on the company. Okay, some companies might say, I want at least 9 CGPA out of 10. Some companies may say, I want at least 7 CGPA out of 8 for as a cutoff. And that cutoff is primarily because they can't interview everyone. Okay, so they want to use some basic cutoff to filter out candidates. So if you get into an IIT or IISc, please make sure you have decent CGPA. Again, your CGPA is highly dependent on the courses you take. Okay, so you have to balance that thing to ensure that your CGPA is not too low. Okay, that's very, very important. For machine learning research, IIT Bombay or IISc, to the best of my knowledge, even today it's IISc. Just because of the number of researchers that are there. And again, I'm not saying there are some terrific folks at IIT Bombay, like Shoman Chakrabarti, like Professor Shoman Chakrabarti and others. Great faculty members, great researchers. There are also some younger folks at IIT Bombay who are very good. But overall, if you look at it, IISc typically has much larger pool of researchers working in various areas of machine learning. So I would still pick IISc or IITB if you want to get into machine learning research type topics. So somebody asks, do we need to know a particular programming language? Most product-based companies don't give a damn about it. Okay, they really don't care. I'll tell you, for my Yahoo Labs interview, I keep telling this story. So I cleared all the interviews. The last round was a coding round. And during the 2 years at IISc, I was doing some deep, dense mathematical theory topics. I almost forgot programming. Okay. So I went to this programming test. So they gave me a problem. I still remember the problem. They're like, print the top 20 most significant digits of the factorial of a large number. So they'll give you some 100 or something. So take 100 factorial, you have to print the most significant digits of 100 factorial. And you have to implement this whole thing in, I think, half an hour or 40 minutes. And they give you a computer and they'll say, come up with an algorithm. So they put the problem on a projector. They said, think about it. And they gave us a computer. They said, this is a Linux box. Everything is there. Go solve the problem. I think they gave us some half an hour or so, if I recall. I don't remember the exact timing, half an hour or 45 minutes. Then I remember asking one of the interviewers, great friend of mine even now, he works at Amazon now. Again, great mentor and friend. I mean, he's a friend. He was my interviewer at Yahoo, and then we worked together and things like that. So I asked him, can I program in MATLAB? He said, no. You have to programming in one of the regular languages. C, C++, Java, Python, Perl. You take any of these modern languages. Please don't write in MATLAB because we don't have MATLAB installed on these boxes. I said, can I do it in Octave? Octave is an open source thing. He said, Octave is also not installed. It'll take a ton of time to do it. Please write it in any of the modern programming languages. So I said, "Theek hai yaar. I remember C from my BTech days. I'll write it in C. I actually wrote this code in C using some linked lists. I implemented a linked list. I did all of that, thankfully. I think I was the first guy to solve the whole problem. Even though I was writing code in C, I had friends who were writing it in Java and Python, etc. So it really doesn't matter. As long as you can write code in one of the more modern languages, it's cool. Product-based companies don't give a damn. Because anyway, if your foundational computer science is strong, you can pick up any programming language in a short duration. Of course, you won't become expert at the programming language, but you can be like I was, I knew basics of JavaScript, but I was never good at JavaScript. Okay, recently I had to do, as part of applied AA course and applied course, we're doing some JavaScript engineering work. And I said, okay, let me figure out how to do this. Okay, and I picked up the basics of JavaScript and I wanted to solve a real world problem. I could figure out the solution in a few days, very quickly, because my foundations of how everything works internally are good. That's very important. Okay, again, I'm not saying I'm an expert in JavaScript now, but I can pick up a language and build something worthwhile, reasonable quickly. Why should you choose IISc or IITB, and how is life at IISc? IISc life is much more research centric than IITB. At IITB, you have a lot of fests because there are a lot of undergrad students, right? Kids in their 17 to 21, 22 bracket. So it's much more it's much more energetic, I should say. While a majority of people at IISc are PhD students. Remember, IISc is a research institute where a majority of students are researchers, a minority are masters, and a still significant minority are undergrad. Again, undergrad started the year after I graduated. Right? The very few undergrad kids. There is a decent number of masters, but a lot of PhD guys. So IISc oozes that research. Like every coffee discussion you have is about, okay, have you read that research paper? How do you prove those bounds? So IISc is a very research centric than IITB. IITB is more like, ठीक है यार, a placement क्या हुआ, or how is this event coming along? Because there's so many fests. The college life is much more. If you enjoy your undergraduate days, I think IITB is much more like that. But IISc is a different culture altogether, right? So, where was I? So somebody's asking about machine learning jobs. Top product-based companies, especially if you come from a computer science background, they will typically have 1 or 2 rounds of data structures and algorithms, typically. Okay, because very often you'll write code, and if you have done your BTech or MTech in computer science, you better be good at data structures algorithms. Okay, so you'll have typically 1 or 2 rounds of data structures algorithms and maybe 4 or 5 rounds of machine learning, especially if you're coming from a computer science background. If you come from a non-CS background like EC, then you can say, I didn't study advanced algorithms, or I didn't study algorithms in my BTech, so I'm not very good at it, and they may excuse you for that. Okay, somebody's asking, how did I prepare? Okay, my preparation for GATE was much different. I started my preparation, again, in those days, GATE 3rd year rank was valid even after 4th year. So after my 2nd year, I was very clear. I want to get into one of the top institutes. I wanted to pursue something in research. And just a second, guys, just a second. Okay, so let me just move here. Okay, so I was very clear. So I said, TKR, I need to get good rank. So I started preparing from my after 2-2 vacation. Of course, many subjects I haven't even covered as part of my course syllabus. But I said, let's pick up the standard textbooks and start reading. So 3rd year, I prepared very hard because I was even learning subjects in my 4th year syllabus, right? So I had to prepare very, very hard in my 3rd year, and I took my GATE exam, and I got some 176 rank, which was pretty decent. In those days, with 176 rank, I would get into Kanpur, Kharagpur, even IIT Madras with some luck. But I wouldn't get into IISc. For sure, I wouldn't get into IISc. So I said, okay, final year, I said, okay, I have one more shot at it. Let me keep this 176 rank. And next year, again, my 3rd year was 2006, right? One of the hardest papers. I messed up with practice and things like that because I didn't have time for practice. My final year, I only practiced. I just revised all the notes that I wrote, and I simply practiced thoroughly. And I got AR2. And in our days, the competition was also lesser than what it is now. Let's be honest about it. And I got lucky. The question paper in 2007 was dead easy, but my preparation was for the hardest paper possible. And I did fewer silly mistakes than others. So I got lucky. I got into IISc. Somebody says, yeah, I solved that factorial problem using linked lists. I actually implemented it. It's a good problem if you want to solve a problem. Suppose if I want the top 20 most significant digits of a factorial of a number, try to solve it, because 100 factorial is a big number, right? You can't store it in standard numeric data types that are given to you in C, C++, Java, or Python, right? So you'll have to construct it yourself. Again, I think in Java, there is something called as big number, which can store large numbers. But we started solving it. I mean, it's not rocket science problem. You can solve it using linked lists very easily. You just have to implement actual multiplication, like what we learned in school, right? You multiply a number with this, you get some carry, you move it there. So all this you store in a linked list. So that's how I solved it. Oh, very good. How does masters at IISc or IIT prepare you for PhD roles at US universities? Very good question. So if you want to go for a PhD at a top university, it's better that you start early in your IISc or IIT tenure to publish a research paper with your professor. Again, what matters in getting good US universities is referrals. Or in other words, the recommendation letter that your professor writes and your research publications. Every person that I know of who went to the top universities like Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, CMU, the top universities in the US, they all ended up publishing some work either during their masters or right after their master's thesis often ended up becoming a research publication. So they would either join, they typically would join after 1 year of their masters. So during that 1 year, they would either work in a research team at a company, or they would work as a research assistant or a research scholar at IITs or IISc. Okay, because it's very hard to publish right after your first year of your masters, because you haven't yet started your research. But if you want to pursue a PhD, your focus from day one has to be, let me publish some good research work in the next couple of years so that my professor gives me a good recommendation letter, and I also have something to show. And if you, again, at IISc and IIT, most good professors actually only publish in top-notch journals and conferences. Once you get 1 or 2 publications there, and with some good reference letters, with decent CGPA, getting into Stanford or MIT shouldn't be very hard. Again, I've seen a lot of people do this, especially from my batch at IISc or my seniors or juniors. Okay. So how much IISc gives importance to regular coding language? Not much. Again, depends on the courses. For example, let me tell you. So there is this very nice course called Compiler Design by Professor Srikanth. Okay, terrific researcher, terrific professor. So he makes you implement a whole compiler from scratch as part of his course. And I think that has some 50% weightage in your final evaluation. So if you take some of those systems courses, I think there is also a course by, I forgot, I think, what's his name? Because I've not taken system courses. There is one professor who teaches operating system. He also makes you implement a basic operating system in his master's degree course. Similarly, there is Professor Jayant Haritsa who teaches databases, right? He makes you implement a very important component of a database engine, which is most likely a code optimizer or an SQL query optimizer. He makes you implement that. So in such courses, you have a lot of exposure to improve your programming skills. But if you go to more mathematical courses, for which IISc is very famous for, like me, you don't end up learning, you actually end up forgetting some programming. But I've taken some advanced algorithms. So my algorithms knowledge improved. We had Professor Kavita teach us, who is now a faculty member at TAFR. Terrific lady. I mean, she's an inspiration to all of us even today. Okay, so she taught us algorithms and advanced algorithms. It's called topics in algorithms. Terrific. I learned so much about advanced algorithms in her course, like randomized algorithms or probabilistic algorithms and approximate algorithms. I still remember some of them even today, because so when I think of some of these probabilistic algorithms, I still remember Professor Kavita actually teaching us that concept on the whiteboard. It's still, that image is still there in my head. So there is a lot of scope to learn it. Okay, especially some of the advanced. See, at IISc, again, there are more courses which are advanced. Because there are so many PhD students, there is more scope to do some of these advanced courses. Like I did tons of advanced courses, and we have terrific mathematics department. We have terrific electrical engineering department, which is very, very, what do you call it, research focused. So if you want to do and learn something in real analysis or complex analysis, we have one of the best math departments in probably in the whole of Asia or even the world. Just go take a course in real analysis or complex analysis in the math department. So if you want that deep understanding, IISc is like almost, I'm not saying some IITs don't have it, but IISc is a science institute, right? So it has more of that science culture than other IITs. So I got to choose between IISc and IITB. I would choose IISc even today, primarily because of simple reasons that IISc gives you exposure to a completely new dimension, which is research, which is hard to get at IITs, even IITB, because there's so many people who are competing for the same research position or the same research team at IITs. Where at IISc, much more smaller place, much more research focused. There is a lot of intellectual and research freedom at IIScs. And IITs, again, it's just a culture. I'm not saying you can't go to IIT Bombay and do great research. I've seen some great folks who do that. But IISc, the chances are more. Okay. Again, getting exposed to research opens up. Again, this is one thing very important. So I keep telling all of my friends, everybody, the greatest takeaway for me from IISc 2 years is not the degree, not the placement. It is the ability to read any research paper you throw at me. You throw any research paper, I will be able to figure out what the research paper is saying and understand what's happening. Recently, I was reading some research papers because one of my family members was not well. I started reading medicine research papers. And I said, okay, I don't understand a lot of this chemical terminology, but Let's think of it as a black box. They did some A/B tests. I know what an A/B test is. I know how to even conduct A/B tests. So I started reading medicine research papers and I didn't have any fear. Then I would go to the gastroenterologist and say, sir, this is like a meta study with some 22,000 people. This is one of the best medical research centers in the world. They're using this medicine. Why don't we take this additional medicine combination? The doc said, are you a researcher in pharma? I said, no, but I can read any research paper. That's the confidence I have. So this is the life skill that I learned. Throw any research paper at me. I may not be able to be an expert at it, but I'll be able to make sense out of it. If it's machine learning or mathematical, much easier. But even if it is a non-mathematical paper, I'll be able to make sense out of it. So that fear of reading research papers has gone away. So that's a great lifelong skill that I learned at IISc. So somebody says you're an MCA student second year and you don't have math in +2. That's okay. You can pick it up. It's not rocket science. You can still crack GATE. Again, I've seen people who have done BSc computer science, MCA, get single-digit ranks, even double-digit ranks in some cases, very easily in GATE with effort. Of course, you need to put in more effort than the regular guy because you don't know calculus. You have to learn some calculus. Okay, you don't know combinatorics probably because you didn't learn it in your 11th and 12th, so you might have to learn it, right? So there is more work there, but you can certainly crack it. Okay, sounds good, folks. Nice talking to you, and thank you for tuning in. And yeah, so anything that I could not answer here, please shoot an email. We'll try to respond back to you as soon as possible. And it's a very good question. Actually, I want to take this question. Why IISc or IIT is not in the same league as Ivy Leagues for research? Very good question. This is something that I have discussed with Professor Chiranjeev extensively. There are two major reasons for it. Very good question. Okay. Why I chose to be a teacher, I'll come there also. So anyway, let's spend a few more minutes. I was planning to pack it up, but good questions being thrown at me. So first thing, why is IISc not at the same level as MIT? Two reasons. MIT attracts some of the best minds from across the world, not just the United States. Okay. I know a lot of toppers in some of the best institutes in the world, in China, in India, in South Korea, who want to go to MIT to do PhD. So the quality of faculty, the quality of students itself is a league ahead at MIT or Stanford because they're attracting the best professors. They're also attracting the best students from across the world. So the input itself is different, number one. Number two, the resources are also different. MIT has billions of dollars of endowment and funding. Okay. For them, throwing a supercomputer at something or giving some $3,000 stipend to a master's degree student or a PhD student is a joke. Okay, that's not the same with many IITs or IISc, right? Number two. Number three, many IIScs and IITs, especially IITs, are more education focused than research focused. Okay, IISc is more research focused. So if you look at research rankings, like I think there was some recent ranking which said that IISc is a smaller institute as compared to MIT or Stanford. Okay, the number of researchers are fewer, the number of students, PhD students, everything is fewer. So you'll obviously see lesser output. But if you look at the output per professor or per student, it's pretty decent, pretty comparable. How many of you know about an institute called Caltech? Okay, also called as California Institute of Technology. It's not a very popular institute amongst many of us, but it is considered the best institute for research in the United States, better than even MIT or Stanford. So there is this joke that if you want to become a faculty member at MIT, you go to Caltech and get your and study there. Okay, then you will trivially get into MIT or Stanford for your as a faculty member. Okay, Caltech is not very popular because it's a very small institute. Okay, very much like IISc, very small institute, very focused only on some areas like physics, like mathematics. They're not very focused on computer science as much. So every institute has their own strength, advantages, and disadvantages, right? IIScs and IITs have some advantages and some disadvantages. So I hope you understood why this. Somebody said why you chose to be a teacher. I always enjoyed teaching and mentoring. So I thought, why not teach for a while? Okay, of course. See, the risk is minimal, right? For me. See, by spending almost like 7-8 years in the industry, for me today, if I think that teaching is not working out, or I'm tired of teaching, or I'm not enjoying teaching, it's very simple for me to go back to industry. I'm not losing much. And thankfully, when I joined Amazon stock price was some $250 or so. Now it's almost close to $2,000. And Amazon pays a huge chunk of salary in stocks. And my stocks shot up. So I have enough cushion in terms of money. I said, okay, I've made decent amount of money to live without a salary for a few years, especially if I'm living in India where the cost of living is low. So why don't I pursue one of my other passions, which is teaching, right? Again, this is something that good salary gives you, okay? Because I made comfortable salary. I don't have a home loan. I actually don't have any loans, okay? So I don't have any liabilities because whatever home loan that I took, I easily paid it off because I was earning so much at Amazon, and my stock also went through the roof, right? So over the last 7-8 years, I've made by working for about 8 years with a startup in between, I made comfortable money that I can take a break and pursue other passions like teaching. If this doesn't work out, or if I think that this is not, again, when I joined teaching, I didn't know whether I'll enjoy it or not. I thought I'll enjoy it. Okay, I didn't know whether I'll enjoy it or not. As of now, I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Okay, so if I think I'm bored of this, or this is not working out for me, or whatever reason, I can say, "Okay, yaar, let's pack bags." I can always go back to Amazon or Google because I'm constantly upgrading myself. I'm not, remember this, I'm constantly learning new things. Okay, so it should be fairly easy for me to go back to industry, which means, again, joining a product-based company, working there for a few years and saving money, not buying your Mercedes cars and BMW cars, being good with your money gives you a lot of cushion to experiment startups, to pursue passions. So some of you may have passion in, let's say, acting. Okay, work for 4 or 5 years, save enough money. I have some of my friends, some of my juniors were doing that. Okay, they worked for 4 or 5 years, they've saved enough money. They're like, I don't want to ask money from my parents. I don't have any home loan. I don't have any liabilities. I want to experiment acting for a couple of years, or I want to experiment doing a startup for a couple of years. Perfectly all right, because you have this money cushion, right? That I don't have to depend on somebody for. So teaching is one of my other passions apart from fundamental research, machine learning, and mathematics. Actually, I think my passion is more mathematics than machine learning, because whether it's machine learning or graph theory, I still enjoy both of them almost similarly. And teaching is something that I started enjoying more and more as I mentored more and more people at Amazon and outside Amazon. I really enjoyed when my students or my mentees started winning, right? And the feedback, that satisfaction is immense. I mean, even building $1 billion company cannot give you the same satisfaction as seeing your students and people whom you're mentoring win. That's like a lifetime relationship that you have with your students. Okay. Again, money is, as I told you, right? Money is not everything. Once you make enough money, you're like, what is my impact? What is it that I can do in general good? So that's how I got into teaching. No, I can't share my salary at Amazon. I don't want to share it. Sorry. And I don't want to share it. But it's pretty good. Okay. I mean, it's very good. Okay. Even by US standards, it's very, very good. And as I told you, right, I got some money. Amazon has this in the US, right? Amazon has this thing. Your salary cannot be more than $180,000, even if you're the CEO of the company. The rest of your salary, you get it only in stocks. And look at how Amazon stock grew in the last 5-6 years. It went from $250 when I joined to $2,000, or close to $2,000 now. So even though I got a good salary, that became a great salary because the stock kept going up. And a huge chunk of my salary was actually stocks, not the money. And I got lucky. Again, we all get lucky in life. I got lucky with Amazon because I went from a failed startup to Amazon. I cleared my home loan. I bought a home, cleared the home loan. I built a home actually, cleared the home loan, got married, enjoyed thoroughly, and saved a ton of money to do startup. What more can you ask for? And again, got to build some phenomenal engineering systems, made some great friends for life. What more do you ask for in a career? Again, my team at Amazon, I still talk to most of these people on regular basis, even today, even 2 years down the line, because great friends for life. Sounds good, folks. So let's get going. And I think I'm done with most of the topics that I wanted to cover here. And thanks for tuning in. And okay, I'll stop looking at the comment section because that will again push me into something else. So thanks for joining in, and see you soon. Again, any issues that you have with any of our content, any suggestions you have, please shoot an email. One of our teammates will get back to you and help you in any way possible. Okay, that's very, very important to us. Not just giving you videos, but giving you service that matters. Okay, that's super duper important. That's a core tenet and philosophy at Applied Course. Thank you, folks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.